Hey, Drizzy, this is question 11. So when we're looking at 11, we're going to use Rene Descartes' rule of signs. So what it does is if the coefficient changed from a negative to a positive, you're going to say yes. So what you do is you take your original question, so this is question 11. You take your original question and you just look, was there a sign change? Well, I went from a negative to a positive. I don't have to compensate for things that are missing, like there's no x to the fourth, that doesn't matter. I went from a negative to a positive, you say yes. Okay, I went from a positive to a positive, you put a no, and I went from a positive to a positive and you put a no. So what we do this for is, so we're going to end up eventually create a PNCT chart. So what you just found out by this is that there's one positive real root because there's one yes. Okay, so we put a 1 here. Now we don't know about the negatives yet, we're going to find out in a second, but we do know that the total number of roots is 5. Even if they have multiplicity, even if the root's the exact same, this is still going to add up to 5. So the positive plus the negative plus the complex, which you won't solve for those, you'll just solve for positive and negatives, then you'll put in whatever the complex is over here. So now you're like, okay, well, how do I find the negative root? So what you do is you're going to take x and replace it with negative x. So we're going to use that equation that we just had right here. So I'm going to rewrite it, but I'm going to have to do a little bit of math now. So I replace each x with a negative x, okay, just like this right here, and I have to do the math for it. So we're almost there. Okay, so, because I don't look for the sign changes until, like see right here I found the sign changes, went from negative, positive, yes, no, no, no sign change. I have to do this right here. So if I go right here, negative x to the 5th is a negative x to the 5th. Like, if it's an odd exponent, it stays negative. So this is negative 2 times negative x to the 5th, which is going to turn into a 2x to the 5th. So that's positive right now. Okay? That's a negative times a negative. This right here is going to turn into a negative. So that's plus 8 times negative x to the 3rd. So that'll be minus 8x to the 3rd. This right here is a positive, because when you take a negative times itself, it's positive. So this is plus 6 times x squared, which is just plus 6x squared, and this would be a positive right here. Okay, so if we're looking at that, we're like, all right, let's talk about the sign chart. So is that a change? Yeah, we went from a negative or positive to a negative, so that's a yes. We went from a negative to a positive, so that's a yes. But we went from a positive to a positive, so that's a no. So now we go back to our PNCT chart. This tells us that we have possibly two yeses. So for negative roots, we have 2 or, and what you're going to do is you're going to take whatever your number is and subtract 2 from it until you get to 0 or to 1. That's why when we had this one right here, we didn't subtract 2 from it because we would have got negative 1. You can't have negative 1 positive row roots. Okay, and these are for positive row roots, not positive rational roots, just positive row roots right here. So then we go over here, so negative roots, you can just classify that. We have 2 or 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to this chart right here. And I'm going to be like, well, we could have had 2 negative roots. And if we would have had 1 positive, 2 negative, we would have had 2 complex, because they have to add up to this total right here. Now our other option, we saw that there was going to be 0 negative roots. And so when we look at the positive, there's only 1 positive row root. So 1 positive row root, we could have had 0 negative roots. So then we would have had to have 4 complex roots. And then our total would have still been 5. So when you create your PNCT chart, that's what it's going to look like.